Almost everything popular culture taught you about Vikings is wrong. The real Norse people were traders, explorers, and lawmakers who reached North America 500 years before Columbus, and the truth is more impressive than the myth. As you delve into the history of the Vikings, you will discover that they were skilled craftsmen, like the 8th century Norwegian craftsman, Othere, who sailed to the White Sea and wrote about his experiences in the 890s, leaving behind a detailed account of their daily life and trade routes, which is now preserved in the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, a collection of annals that chronicles the history of England from the 5th to the 11th centuries. Can you imagine what it would be like to sail across the treacherous waters of the North Sea, as Othere did, and return with exotic goods and stories of foreign lands, such as the prized walrus ivory and furs from the Arctic regions? In the 8th century, the Frankish Empire, under the rule of Charlemagne, was expanding its territories, and the Vikings saw an opportunity to establish trade routes and commerce, with the first recorded Viking raid on the monastery at Lindisfarne in 793, which marked the beginning of the Viking Age, a period that lasted for over 2 centuries, during which the Vikings explored, raided, and settled in various parts of Europe, including the British Isles, France, and Russia. The Vikings were not just mindless raiders, but rather, they were calculating traders who sought to establish themselves as the dominant traders of the medieval world, with the establishment of the Danelaw in 878, a territory in eastern and northern England that was under Viking control, and the creation of the Varangian Guard in 988, an elite unit of Viking warriors who served as the personal bodyguards of the Byzantine emperors. As you explore the Viking trade routes, you will notice that they stretched from the Baltic Sea to the Mediterranean, with the Vikings trading goods such as furs, wool, and amber, which were highly prized in the medieval world, and you may wonder, what drove the Vikings to venture so far from their homelands, and what were the consequences of their actions on the medieval European economy? The Vikings established cities across Europe, including Dublin, which was founded in 841, and York, which was founded in 866, and they developed a system of governance, with the establishment of the Althing in 930, a national assembly in Iceland that is still in existence today, and the creation of the Jorvik, a Viking Age settlement in York that has been excavated and reconstructed, providing a unique glimpse into the daily life of the Vikings. The Vikings were also skilled explorers, with Leif Erikson reaching North America around 1000, about 500 years before Christopher Columbus, and establishing a settlement at Vinland, which is now believed to be located at L'Anse-aux Meadows in Newfoundland, Canada, and you will discover that the Vikings left behind a legacy of place names, such as Vinland, Markland, and Helgeland, which are still used today to describe the geography of North America. As you follow the Viking expeditions, you will notice that they were driven by a desire to explore and discover new lands, and you may ask, what would have happened if the Vikings had established a permanent settlement in North America, and how would it have changed the course of history? The Vikings also developed a system of writing, with the use of runes, which were inscribed on stones and other objects, such as the rock runestone, which is one of the most famous runic inscriptions in Sweden, and the Oseberg ship, which is a Viking Age ship that was discovered in a burial mound in Norway, and is now on display at the Viking Ship Museum in Oslo. The Vikings were also skilled craftsmen, with the creation of intricate metalwork, such as the brooches and jewelry that have been found in Viking Age burials, and the development of a system of navigation, with the use of the sun, stars, and landmarks to guide their ships across the seas. The Viking legacy can be seen in the modern-day laws and institutions of Scandinavia, with the concept of trial by jury, which was first introduced in the 10th century, and the establishment of the office of the Ombudsman, which was first introduced in Sweden in the 19th century, and is now used in many countries around the world to protect the rights of citizens. The Viking emphasis on trade and commerce also laid the foundation for the modern-day economies of Scandinavia, with the establishment of the Hanseatic League in the 13th century, a powerful trading federation that dominated the trade in the Baltic region for centuries, and the creation of the Danish East India Company in the 17th century, which played a significant role in the development of the Danish economy. As you consider the Viking legacy, You may wonder, how did the Vikings manage to establish such a lasting impact on modern society, and what can we learn from their example, such as their emphasis on community, cooperation, and the protection of individual rights? As you reflect on the history of the Vikings, you will realize that they were a complex and multifaceted people, who were driven by a desire to explore, trade, and settle new lands, and who left behind a legacy that continues to shape our world today, with their emphasis on literacy, trade, and the protection of individual rights. And you may ask, what would you do if you were a Viking, setting sail across the unknown waters of the North Sea, with the wind in your hair and the spray of the sea on your face, and the possibility of discovery and adventure waiting for you on the horizon?